This is the MOJO Weekly News.
Good evening. The sons of a prominent QC have been sent to jail for bashing two men during celebrations at an AFL finals match last year. Dominic and Samuel Walker, sons of QC Tim Walker, last week pleaded guilty to intentionally causing harm and were jailed on Tuesday.
Two brothers had been found guilty and sentenced to prison for violently bashing football fans outside a Melbourne hotel. 25-year-old Samuel Walker was sentenced to 6 months in prison by a magistrate on Tuesday and was granted immediate appeal and bail. His brother Dominic was sentenced to 12 months behind bars and will not appeal the decision. The Walkers are the sons of top lawyer Tim Walker QC. Their mother was seen distraught and in tears as her sons were taken into custody by guards. The brothers and their friend, also charged, had been at the MCG celebrating Richmond's qualifying final win over Hawthorn September 7th last year. They got into a heated argument with their victims over a taxi, leaving a victim with bleeding on the brain and broken facial bones. 25-year-old Samuel Walker has appealed his 6-month sentence, walking from the magistrate's court on Tuesday on bail until February. Prosecutors have labelled the young man's behaviour as grossly disproportionate, and according to police, more charges are set to follow Chester.
And now here's Kobe Rankin with a look back at the rest of the week's top stories.
United States troops have been withdrawn from Syria and moved to Iraq, where they will continue operations against ISIS. At least 500 personnel have evacuated the last major US military base in northern Syria following an announcement by President Donald Trump earlier this month, where he said he would bring soldiers home. The evacuation came days before the US-brokered ceasefire expired on Tuesday. As the convoy drove through northern Syria, civilians were heard chanting "Death to the betrayers." Retired CIA Director and Army General David Petraeus says by leaving the area, the US has betrayed its Syrian Kurds ally in the fight against ISIS. Multiple construction workers were injured during an on-site industrial explosion at South Bank on Saturday afternoon. It's believed concrete was being pumped through pipes running 100 stories when the mechanism exploded. Witnesses say the cement explosion caused two workers to be blown at least 15 metres onto the road, sending them into shock. A Victoria police spokesperson confirmed 4 men were injured, 2 of whom remain in hospital in a serious but stable condition. WorkSafe is investigating the incident. Drivers could soon be paying $10 a day to travel through Melbourne City. The fee, proposed by the Grattan Institute, would aim to reduce a peak hour congestion through the CBD by charging drivers to use the busy roads. Under the proposal, cars will be charged $5 each way when travelling in and out of the city, aiming to reduce the amount of traffic by 5,000 cars a day and generating $124 million a year for the government. However, the state government opposes the idea, with a spokesperson saying they currently have no plans and do not support a congestion tax. A border collie named Jimmy was saved from the edge of a cliff in Bells Beach by emergency crews on Sunday. Jimmy fell and became stuck on the cliff that morning before a surfer spotted him and called 000. SES volunteers and firefighters worked together to secure a harness and use ropes to reach Jimmy, who was stranded at least 15 metres up. His owner had been searching for him for hours, but they were eventually reunited once Jimmy was safely on the ground. A potential 10 million litres of dangerous chemicals have been found in a burnt Melbourne warehouse more than a year after the fire broke out. The Tottenham warehouse was engulfed by fire in August last year, blanketing surrounding suburbs in smoke and causing local schools and businesses to temporarily close. But on Sunday, the Environment Protection Authority and WorkSafe announced their investigation had recently uncovered aerosols, solvents and paint residues still on the site. It is estimated between 7 to 10 million litres of potentially dangerous chemical residue has been left behind. The site owners have been ordered to clean it up by August of next year and are required to submit a clean-up plan by February.
Dozens of people have stood outside State Parliament promoting the importance of nuclear energy. It was organised by the Nuclear Pride Coalition, a group which advocates for the maintenance of existing nuclear plants and expansion of the global nuclear fleet.
Standing on the steps of Parliament, promoting nuclear energy.
We really want to give an opportunity for the people that are supportive of nuclear, and we know there's a lot of them, to come out and be really proud about that. So hence Nuclear Pride.
In a bid to find solutions for climate change, a new global movement has emerged. It's called the Stand Up for Nuclear Energy, organised by the Nuclear Pride Coalition.
Nature has given us this massive power, and humanity has figured out how to utilise that power, and we have the power to cause good or harm with that power. And if we choose to use that power for good, there is massive potential benefit for humanity.
And on Sunday, dozens of pro-nuclear activists stood on the steps of Parliament to share their views.
Our security, climate change, it ticks every single box that you can imagine. And so I think it's up to us in this small gathering to go out and to tell the real story.
They believe nuclear energy is the solution to poverty and climate change, and they are advocating for the expansion of global nuclear fleet.
Giving people an opportunity to present a really positive message about nuclear technologies. We're a group of people that believe climate change is really, really important, and we really need to do everything we can about it. And we can see how much better we can make the world by using nuclear technologies.
One of the motives behind this global movement is to challenge misconceptions about nuclear power, including that of nuclear waste.
With nuclear waste, we've been studying the problem for a long time. We're very clear in how to manage it. There's a tiny amount of waste that comes out of nuclear, and we can manage it safely and easily.
Victorian Parliament will hold an inquiry into nuclear power next month that will assess the consequences of lifting bans on nuclear energy in the state. Sheetal Singh, MOJO News.
So Victorian families have banded together in the 11th annual Buddy Run to stamp out bullying in schools. It's organised by the Madeline and Alana Foundation, inspired by statistics that show 1 in 4 Australian students are being bullied.
Sarah was a victim of bullying in high school.
I've been bullied a lot, so I'm also representing everyone else that's been bullied.
Her mother later says it was so bad, it got to the point where Sarah had thoughts of suicide.
It made me really angry because really they're just cowards, really, at the end of the day. And they don't really realise their actions, how words can hurt. They're just as bad as being physically injured, really.
On Sunday, Sarah and her family joined hundreds of other children and their families to say no to bullying. Organised by the Alana and Madeline Foundation, the Buddy Run is a fun run for families to raise awareness about bullying and cyberbullying.
Today it's about inclusion and respect and raising awareness and encouraging children that if they see bullying to call it out, and also to really reinforce that message that bullying is not okay in their school or in their family or in their clubs.
They began at Yara Park and ran the 1 kilometre course, taking a stand against bullying, one step at a time.
I think it's just an important message that we don't want that to happen, so we're very much that we want to be involved and pass that message to everybody, not to bully, and our kids are really want to be part of that as well.
A national survey suggests that 1 in 4 kids suffer from bullying every day, and this Buddy Run hopes to raise funds in order to prevent bullying.
Tara's message to her bully.
Everyone that's bullying, why are you doing it? It hurts people, and just honestly stop doing it because there is no reason for it, and we're all human beings, and at the end of the day, we're all the same.
Karuna Balasubramanian, MOJO News.
2 Melbourne midwives are seeking to improve the lives of women living in Africa by providing them with accessible maternity care. They're heading to Ethiopia next month to volunteer their skills in a local maternity hospital.
Midwives Atlanta Zwar and Elisa McDonald are used to helping those who need it, but the good friends will be embarking on a journey to bring their passion of working in childbirth to Ethiopia.
I feel unusually connected to African women. I work at a hospital out in the west, and we service women from Sudan, Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia.
But Atlanta, who grew up in South Africa, feels a deeper connection to the women there.
I grew up in South Africa, so I feel like I have this connection in my heart and soul to Africa. I can't explain it unless you've been to Africa.
Atlanta and Elisa believe it's important for midwifery clinicians to go to third world countries to witness women's birth experiences.
Some of the women that we look after come from war-torn, countries, and they experience trauma that we would, really probably not understand on a different level.
The women have set up a GoFundMe page which raised over $11,000 and will be going to the Barbara May Foundation to improve their hospitals.
We're just so grateful and so amazed, I guess, by the generosity of everyone that's donated.
Atlanta and Elisa add that from having 3 children of their own, role modelling is important to demonstrate values and a social conscience.
My children have begrudgingly acknowledged that they're proud of me. My 14-year-old is like, yeah, it's okay. But I think for me personally, it's acknowledging that until you have experienced this and you travel to another country and you see how people are living and how much they struggle.
Atlanta and Elisa will be embarking on their journey to Ethiopia next Thursday. David Bonadio, MOJO News.
Did you ever dream of receiving a letter from an old wizard when you were 11 years old, or catching a train to a school for magic on platform 9 3/4? Well, dream no more, because the Wizarding World has come to Australia with the nation's biggest Harry Potter store opening in the heart of Melbourne.
The Wizarding World has finally come to Melbourne. Situated in Bourke Street Mall, the largest Harry Potter store in Australia has opened its doors to muggles and wizards alike.
What made you come here today? We're big Harry Potter fans.
Yeah, since 12 years old, I think.
Yeah.
That's how we became friends, actually.
Yeah.
So.
The store is a collaboration between Myers and Warner Bros, selling all kinds of magical merchandise, from Hogwarts uniforms to Lego homeware, and even Birdie Bot's every flavor beans. Some travelled a long distance to visit the store.
We came here for the Harry Potter new store. We travelled all the way from Ballarat.
From Ballarat?
Yeah.
Cool. Was it worth it?
Oh, definitely. Big, huge Harry Potter fans.
Others simply turned up by coincidence.
My flight was cancelled, so I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in Manchester in England. So I've got the day in Melbourne and I looked online to see what was going on and I saw this, so I got here. Yeah.
Would you say it was a lucky mishap?
I think so. I think it's destiny. I think I'm supposed to be here today.
Many lined up for hours just to get their chance to experience the Wizarding World.
Did you have to queue a long time to get in?
About 2 hours. Yeah, so I think I was pretty lucky.
We expected some pretty big crowds to come through today, but this was beyond expectations. It's just been absolutely fantastic. The crowd's been a really amazing crowd, some really good vibes going around, but it's just been out of this world today.
The Harry Potter store takes up 500 square meters of Myers' basement floor and even features a platform 9 3/4, just like the one seen at King's Cross Station in London.
Apart from selling merchandise, the store also has a dedicated ticket booth for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is showing at the Princess Theatre. The store is set to be open until the end of next year. Elinor Freestrom, MOJO News.
Well, in a rare show of unanimity, newspapers, including The Age, The Herald Sun and The Australian, have warned the public about the cost of government secrecy in their right to know. Political correspondent David Bonadio joins me now. David, what's this campaign about?
Chester, major newspapers obscured their front pages on Monday, calling on the government to set out press freedom and protection for whistleblowers, asking for 6 reforms guaranteeing freedom of information. Despite a new directive that gives the Attorney-General power for press prosecution, Prime Minister Scott Morrison declared in Parliament on Monday that it should not be up to politicians to decide who should be prosecuted. Major media outlets including the ABC, SBS and The Guardian support the cause. To other news in Canberra now, and after Australia's spy agency said the threat from right-wing extremists is growing, Labor MPs have vowed to do more. Labor MP Anne Alley said Australia was slow to recognise the man accused of being the Christchurch shooter was one of us. Miss Alley noted that the spy agency ASIO said that the next attack would be likely committed by a lone actor or small group. The drought has dominated headlines this week with politicians under fire. Mr Albanese wrote to Prime Minister Scott Morrison late last week, formally requesting their two parties come together in an emergency joint cabinet agreement. Albanese said Australians wanted the politics taken out, which is why he offered a joint war cabinet. Labor has asked the Auditor-General to investigate the government's claimed $7 billion in drought assistance. Joel Fitzgibbon says the response has been confusing and lacking in direction. Kellogg's has been forced to increase the list price of their breakfast cereals as the drought dries up the wholesale price of grain. The cereal manufacturer explained that it had been buying Australian-grown grain for 90 years and will continue to do so despite drought conditions. Hillsong Church Global Pastor Brian Houston has been the talk of Parliament after Prime Minister Scott Morrison dismissed questions following the Wall Street Journal's report that the White House had rejected Houston as a guest. The Prime Minister dubbed the reports as gossip. Houston's alleged invitation received mixed opinions on social media, with some linking the invite with Prime Minister Scott Morrison's appearance at the 2019 Hillsong Conference, where he said it's not the laws that make freedom of religion work, it's the culture that accepts it. Polls conducted for the Australian newspaper show the coalition holds a small two-party preferred lead over Labor of 51% to 49%. The poll follows a week of the government being criticised for its lack of action amid poor economic forecasts. Labor faced internal pressure to rethink its climate policy, with Labor Party spokesman Mark Butler launching a bid for a climate emergency to be declared in the lower house. Some party members suggested that they adopt the government's target to reduce emissions by 28% rather than its policy of 45% that it took to the election. Chester.
All right, David, we'll leave it there. Thank you. And now here's sport with Brittany Coles.
Thanks, Chester. Caulfield Cup was one of the biggest races on the Australian racing calendar last Saturday. In typical cold and rainy Melbourne weather conditions, the 5-year-old Japanese stallion Mer de Glace was ridden to victory by Damien Lane. This week, the carnival moves to Moonee Valley, where the 2019 Ladbrokes Cox Plate will take place this Friday night. Racing officials have condemned the mistreatment of former racehorses after a 7:30 report on ABC exposed the mass slaughter of ex-racehorses at the slaughterhouse in Caboolture, Queensland. Critics say major Australian media outlets are glamorising the Australian racing industry for commercial or other reasons. Racing officials have condemned the mistreatment of former racehorses after a report on ABC exposed the mass slaughter of ex-racehorses at a slaughterhouse in Caboolture, Queensland. Critics say major Australian media outlets are glamorising the Australian racing industry for commercial or other reasons. Andy Murray has broken down in tears after incredible miracle returned from hip surgery, which he feared had ended his career. The 32-year-old Grand Slam champion claimed his first ATP Tour title for more than 2.5 years at the European Open on Sunday. He rallied to beat Stan Wawrinka and is now expected to take a break until the Davis Cup finals next month, while he waits for the birth of his third child. To the A-League now, Melbourne City defeated Adelaide United 2-1 at Amy Park on Sunday night. Melbourne Victory fell short of a victory, defeated 2-1 by Western Sydney Wanderers at Marvel Stadium last weekend. And overseas Premier League teams Liverpool and Manchester United played out in a blockbuster match in England. Liverpool managed to kick a goal to finish the game as a 1-1 draw and to keep their position at the top of the ladder. In a thrilling NBL Grand Final rematch at a packed Melbourne Arena last Sunday, Perth Wildcats claimed victory over Melbourne United. Bryce Cotton swooped in during the final seconds of the game to seal the winning shot and 95-93 score. AFL is well and truly over. Most players are on holidays enjoying a well-deserved break, but AFLW superstar Taylor Harris has been busy in the boxing ring. She has won the Australian female middleweight title with a stunning second-round knockout against kickboxing star Marguerite Butcher at the Melbourne Pavilion last weekend. The 22-year-old is now on a 2-fight knockout streak as she continues to rise in the world rankings. Not many people can swap a football for a fight. She certainly is a talented athlete, Chester.
Yeah, she sure is, Britt. Thank you. The Melbourne Fringe Festival, which runs through the month of September, saw many types of art exhibits take over the city. One of these was a circus show created by university students, which combines traditional carnival-style entertainment with hip-hop.
With a flash and a bang, the Fat Cab Club has hit the Melbourne Fringe Festival. Siblings Joe and Anna Fisher produced this show while balancing their university commitments.
My sister and I split the work, so she does a lot of the sort of producing, talking to people, getting reviewers in, that kind of stuff. I handle a lot of the production, so lighting and sound.
The show includes juggling, dancing, comedy and other circus acts, all to the sound of hip-hop music. This diversity and skill is what sets the show apart.
Like, we're so fortunate to have all these people who are literally the best in the country at their circus disciplines, who just want to get together and listen to some good music and have fun.
Mark Longo is one of these talented cast members who just enjoys everything about the show.
Whatever we sort of feel on stage, that just flows out to the audience. And it's just like, wow, everything about it is just like sick.
After the Fat Cab Club finishes here at the Melbourne Spiegel tent, the circus will move to other arts festivals around the country. Eventually, Joe wants to take this show to the next level. Ezra Holt, MOJO News.
Alright, and that is the MOJO Weekly News for now. You can stay up to date on our website, mojonews.com.au. I'm Chester Nunn. I hope you enjoy your week. From the team, bye for now.